My name is Edna. I am 54 years old, and for the past 30 years, I thought I understood what it meant to be a mother. I raised my son alone after my husband died, gave him everything I had, and believed that a mother's love was something unbreakable, something eternal. But over the last few years, something shifted, something I couldn't quite name, couldn't quite grasp. And on the night of my son's 30th birthday, everything I thought I knew shattered in front of 30 witnesses. Before we dive into what happened that night, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if stories about family heartbreak and finding your strength again speak to you, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Trust me, you will want to hear how this unfolds. Because what happened that night changed everything I thought I knew about being a mother. I need to take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand what I sacrificed to get to that moment. My husband Thomas died in a car accident when our son Brandon was only 3 years old. One moment we were a family planning our future, talking about giving Brandon a little brother or sister. The next moment, I was a widow with a toddler and a mountain of grief I didn't know how to climb. I remember the funeral. Brandon kept asking where Daddy was. I couldn't answer him. I just held him close and cried into his soft hair, trying to be strong for him, while my whole world collapsed. After Thomas died, everything fell on my shoulders. The bills, the mortgage, the daycare costs, everything. I worked as an accountant at a medium-sized company during the day, crunching numbers and managing spreadsheets. But one job wasn't enough. So at night, I took shifts at a coffee shop serving lattes and cleaning tables until my feet ached and my eyes burned. I can still remember those nights. Coming home at 11, finding Brandon asleep on the couch where the babysitter left him carrying him to bed, then sitting at the kitchen table with a pile of paperwork. The house was always too quiet, too empty. But I kept going because Brandon needed me. The financial struggles were constant. Some months I had to choose between paying the electric bill on time or buying Brandon new shoes. I always chose the shoes. He was growing so fast. I wore the same 3 work outfits for years, rotating them, washing them carefully, mending the hems when they frayed. But Brandon always had clean clothes, good food, everything a child needed. When Brandon was 7, I met Harold at work. He was kind, patient, a manager in the finance department. He asked me out for coffee one Tuesday afternoon, then dinner the following week, then again, and again. He was good to Brandon too, brought him little gifts, talked to him about baseball. But every time Harold tried to get closer, tried to become more than a friend, I pulled back. I remember the last time he asked me out. We were standing in the parking lot after work, the sun setting orange and pink behind the buildings. He said, "Edna, I care about you. I think we could be good together. Give us a chance." I looked at him, this good man offering me a second chance at love, and I said, "Brandon needs me right now. I can't divide my attention. I'm sorry, Harold." He nodded, disappointment clear in his eyes, and walked away. I never dated him or anyone else after that. Brandon came first, always. When Brandon was 10, I sold Thomas's car. It had been sitting in the garage for 7 years, covered with a tarp gathering dust. I couldn't drive it. Every time I looked at it, I saw Thomas behind the wheel smiling at me. But Brandon needed to go to a better school, a private academy with smaller classes and better teachers. The car sold for $8,000. I used every penny for tuition. I didn't buy myself new clothes. I didn't go on vacations. I didn't do anything for myself. My winter coat was from before Thomas died, the lining torn, the buttons loose. I sewed them back on every few months. But Brandon had a warm jacket new every year as he outgrew the old ones. And Brandon thrived. He was smart, so smart. He brought home good grades, made the honor roll every semester. He played basketball in high school, and I went to every single game cheering from the bleachers, even when I had worked a double shift and my whole body ached. When he graduated high school, I cried. Not sad tears, but proud ones. He had gotten a full scholarship to a good university. My boy, my beautiful boy, was going to have opportunities I never had. College was hard on both of us. He was 3 hours away, and I missed him terribly. The house felt emptier than ever. But he called every Sunday, told me about his classes, his friends, his dreams. He wanted to work in finance like his dad had planned to. I told him his father would be so proud. He graduated with honors. I sat in that auditorium watching him walk across the stage in his cap and gown, and I thought, this is it. This is what all those sleepless nights were for. All those years of sacrifice. This moment right here. After graduation, Brandon got a job at a big financial firm in the city. The salary was good, really good. He moved into his own apartment, and I helped him furnish it, buying him dishes and towels and a coffee maker. He didn't ask me to, but I wanted to. I wanted him to have a good start. For the first few years after college, things were good between us. He would visit on weekends sometimes, and we would have dinner together. I cooked his favorite meals, pot roast and mashed potatoes, chocolate cake for dessert. We would sit at the kitchen table and talk for hours. But then he met Stephanie. She was 28, worked in marketing at his company. Pretty polished, always dressed perfectly. Brandon called me one evening excited and said, "Mom, I met someone special. I want you to meet her." I was thrilled. My son in love. I wanted him to be happy to have what I had lost when Thomas died. We met at a restaurant downtown, a nice Italian place with white tablecloths and candles on every table. Brandon arrived first. Then Stephanie walked in her heels, clicking on the tile floor. She was beautiful, I will give her that. Slim blonde hair, perfectly styled, a designer handbag on her arm. I stood up, smiled, extended my hand. "Stephanie, it is so wonderful to meet you. Brandon has told me so much about you." She shook my hand briefly, her grip light, almost limp. "Nice to meet you too," she said, but her eyes were distant, already scanning the room. We sat down, and I tried to make conversation. I asked about her family, her job, her interests. She answered in short sentences, polite, but cool. Brandon seemed not to notice, too happy to see us together. But I noticed. I noticed the way she checked her phone under the table, the way she barely smiled when I spoke. After dinner, as we walked to our cars, I hugged Brandon and whispered, "She seems nice." He beamed. "She is Mom. She is perfect." I wanted to believe him. But after that night, things started to change. Brandon called less. When he did call, the conversations were shorter, more distracted. I would ask if he wanted to come over for Sunday dinner, and he would say, "Sorry, Mom, Stephanie and I have plans." At first I told myself it was normal. He was in a relationship, he was busy, he was building his own life. But a small part of me, a part I tried to ignore, felt a sting of rejection every time he said no. Then one day Brandon called and said, "Mom, we are engaged." I was happy for him. I truly was. I told him congratulations, asked when the wedding would be offered to help in any way I could. But when I asked if I could help plan the wedding, he said, "Thanks, Mom, but Stephanie and her mom have it all under control. They have a vision." I was not part of that vision. The engagement period was hard. I barely saw Brandon. He and Stephanie were busy with wedding planning, work their life together. I tried to be understanding. I tried to give them space. But every time I called, every time I suggested getting together, there was an excuse. One Sunday in October, I called Brandon and said, "Sweetheart, I made beef stew, your favorite. Why don't you and Stephanie come over for dinner? We can catch up." There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then Brandon said, "We can't tonight, Mom. Work stuff." "Tomorrow then? Or next weekend?" "Mom, we are really busy right now. The wedding is in 3 months. We have a lot to do." "I know, honey. I just miss you. I feel like I never see you anymore." Another pause. Then in a voice that was just a little bit sharp, he said, "Mom, I am not a kid anymore. I have my own life." The word stung. "I know you do. I just want to be part of it." "You are. But you need to understand things are different now." We hung up shortly after that. I sat in my kitchen looking at the pot of stew on the stove and felt a heaviness in my chest I could not name. I packed the stew into containers and put them in the freezer. Brandon never came to eat it. A few weeks later, I was shopping at the mall, just picking up a few things when I saw them. Brandon and Stephanie walking hand in hand laughing. I called out, "Brandon!" He turned, and for a split second I saw something in his face. Annoyance, embarrassment. But it was gone quickly, replaced by a forced smile. "Hey, Mom, what are you doing here?" "Just shopping. What a nice surprise. Do you two have time for coffee?" Stephanie's smile was tight. "We actually have an appointment. We are meeting the florist in 20 minutes. "Oh." I tried not to let my disappointment show. "Well, maybe we can get together soon. I would love to hear about the wedding plans." "Sure, Mom. Soon," Brandon said. But his eyes were already moving away from me, back to Stephanie. As they walked away, I heard Stephanie say something low, and Brandon replied, "Sorry about that. Sorry about that." As if running into his mother was an inconvenience. I went home and cried. Not big dramatic sobs, but quiet tears that I wiped away before they could fall. I told myself I was being silly. Brandon was just busy. He was in love. This was normal. But it did not feel normal. 2 months before the wedding, I called Brandon and said, "Sweetheart, I know you and Stephanie are handling most of the wedding planning, but I would really love to help. Maybe I could contribute to the costs. I have some money saved." There was a long silence. Then Brandon's voice came through, cold and hard. "Mom, we can handle it ourselves. We don't need your money." "I know you don't need it, honey. I just want to help. I am your mother. Let me do this for you. We have it covered. Stephanie's parents are paying for most of it, and we are paying for the rest. We don't need you to step in and make us feel like we can't do it ourselves." I was stunned. That is not what I meant. I just wanted to be involved. "You have done enough, Mom," he said, and there was an edge to his voice I had never heard before. "We want to do this our way. Brandon, I have to go. I will talk to you later." He hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like I had been slapped. You have done enough. What did that mean? That he did not want my help anymore? That I had become a burden? The wedding was in early December at a fancy resort 2 hours outside the city. I was not involved in any of the planning. I received my invitation in the mail just like any other guest. The invitation was beautiful cream cardstock with gold lettering, but it felt impersonal. Cold. The day of the wedding, I wore my nicest dress, a navy blue one I had bought years ago for a work event. I did my hair, put on makeup, and drove to the resort with a heavy heart. The venue was stunning. White flowers everywhere, soft music playing, guests milling about in expensive clothes. I felt out of place immediately. I did not know anyone there except Brandon, and he was surrounded by people shaking hands, laughing. I found my seat. Row 2. Not the front row. The front row was reserved for Stephanie's parents, her grandmother, her aunt and uncle. I was in the second row, sitting alone. Around me were people I did not recognize, Stephanie's family and friends. They chatted among themselves, ignoring me. The ceremony started. Brandon stood at the altar looking handsome in his tuxedo. When Stephanie walked down the aisle, he cried. I cried too, but for different reasons. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Dinner, dancing, speeches. Brandon's best man gave a funny speech about their college days. Stephanie's maid of honor talked about their friendship. Then Brandon stood up to say a few words. He thanked everyone for coming. He thanked Stephanie's parents for their generosity and support. He thanked his friends for being part of his life. And then, almost as an afterthought, he said, "And thanks to my mom for being there." That was it. 5 words. Thanks to my mom for being there. Not for raising him alone. Not for working 2 jobs. Not for sacrificing everything. Just being there. I smiled and nodded, but inside something cracked. During the reception, I sat at a table with strangers. Brandon and Stephanie made the rounds greeting guests, but they barely stopped at my table. Brandon gave me a quick hug, said, "Thanks for coming, Mom," and moved on. I left early. Drove home in the dark, my hands gripping the steering wheel, tears streaming down my face. When I got home, I sat in my car in the driveway for a long time, unable to move. The house was dark and empty, just like always. The months after the wedding were harder than I expected. Brandon and Stephanie moved into a nice apartment downtown, a 2-bedroom with big windows and modern furniture. I saw pictures on social media. It looked perfect. They looked perfect. But I was not part of it. I tried to respect their space. I did not call too often, did not ask to visit too much. But I still wanted to be in my son's life. Was that so wrong? In February, 2 months after the wedding, I saw pictures on Instagram. Brandon and Stephanie at a beach smiling, tanned, happy. They were on vacation with Stephanie's parents. There was a photo of all 4 of them at dinner, Brandon laughing at something Stephanie's dad said. I had not even known they were going on vacation. I sent Brandon a text. Looks like you are having fun. Wish I had known about the trip. Would have loved to send you off properly. He replied 2 days later. It was a last-minute thing. But it was not last minute. I could see from the photos that they had been there for a week. He just had not told me. In March, I invited Brandon and Stephanie over for Sunday dinner. I asked a week in advance, hoping they could make it. Brandon said he would check with Stephanie and get back to me. He never did. I texted him the day before. Still on for tomorrow? He replied. Can't make it, Mom. We have plans with Stephanie's family. I stared at the text. Stephanie's family. Again. Always Stephanie's family. I called him. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice distracted. Hey, Mom. Brandon, can we talk? I'm kind of busy right now. It will just take a minute, please. He sighed. Okay, what is it? I feel like I never see you anymore. Like I am not part of your life. Mom, you are part of my life. I just have other responsibilities now. I am married. I have in-laws. I can't spend all my time with you. I am not asking for all your time. I am just asking for some of it. I miss you, Brandon. Mom, you are being clingy. This is exactly why. He stopped. Why what? Nothing. Look, I have to go. We will get together soon, okay? Brandon? He hung up. I sat there, the phone still in my hand, feeling like I had been punched in the gut. Clingy. He called me clingy. A few weeks later, I decided to go to their apartment. I did not want to ambush them, but I needed to talk to Brandon face to face. Maybe if he saw me, really saw me, he would understand how much this was hurting. I showed up on a Saturday afternoon holding a homemade apple pie, Brandon's favorite. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding. Stephanie answered. She looked surprised and not pleasantly. Edna, hi. Hi, Stephanie. Is Brandon home? I wanted to talk to him. She hesitated, then stepped aside. Come in. The apartment was beautiful, clean, modern, decorated with art and plants. I felt like I was in a magazine spread. Stephanie called Brandon. Your mom is here. He came out of the bedroom wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. Mom, what are you doing here? I wanted to talk to you. Can we sit down? He glanced at Stephanie, who stood nearby, arms crossed. Sure, okay. We sat in the living room. I placed the pie on the coffee table. I made this for you. Thanks, he said, but he did not look at the pie. I took a deep breath. Brandon, I need to ask you something. Have I done something wrong? Because I feel like you are pushing me away, and I don't understand why. He sighed, rubbing his face. Mom, you haven't done anything wrong. It is just, you need to give us space. You are always texting, calling, wanting to visit. It is a lot. I am your mother. I just want to be part of your life. But Brandon needs to focus on our family now, Stephanie interjected. Our future, our plans, not constantly worrying about. She trailed off, but the implication was clear. Not constantly worrying about you. I looked at her, then at Brandon. Is that how you feel? That I am a burden? Brandon would not meet my eyes. Mom, I just need some space, that is all. I stood up. My hands were shaking. Okay, I will give you space, as much as you want. I left the pie on the table and walked out. Neither of them followed me. In April, Brandon got a promotion at work. I found out from a picture on Facebook. He was holding a plaque, smiling, surrounded by colleagues. Stephanie was there. So were her parents. but I had not been invited. I called him. "Congratulations on the promotion, sweetheart. I am so proud of you." "Thanks, Mom. I saw the pictures. It looked like a nice celebration." "Yeah, it was just a small work thing. I didn't think you would be interested." "I am always interested in your life, Brandon. Always." "Mom, please. Not now. I have to go." He hung up before I could say anything else. I sat in my living room surrounded by pictures of Brandon growing up. Brandon as a baby. Brandon on his first day of school. Brandon at his high school graduation. And I realized something. The son in those pictures was gone. He had become someone I did not recognize, someone who did not need me, did not want me, and I did not know how to fix it. In late May, I received an invitation in the mail. Heavy cardstock gold lettering. An invitation to Brandon's 30th birthday party. I held it in my hands, staring at it. Part of me was happy. At least I was invited. At least I was still included in this one thing. But another part of me felt dread. Deep, cold dread. The party was at an upscale restaurant downtown, the kind with a Michelin star and a 6-month waiting list for reservations. Black tie attire. I did not own anything suitable, so I went to a department store and bought a simple black dress. It cost more than I wanted to spend, but this was my son's birthday. I wanted to look nice. I also bought him a gift. A watch. A really nice watch, stainless steel with a leather band. It cost $750 money I had been saving for months. But Brandon was worth it. He was my son. I wanted to give him something special. The night of the party, I arrived at the restaurant at 7. The place was stunning. Candlelight, soft music, white tablecloths. There were about 30 people there, all dressed elegantly. I recognized no one except Brandon and Stephanie. Brandon saw me and came over. He kissed my cheek, a quick, perfunctory gesture. "Hey, Mom. Glad you could make it." "Happy birthday, sweetheart. You look very handsome." "Thanks. There are name cards at the tables. Yours is over there." He pointed to the far end of a long table away from where he and Stephanie would be sitting. I found my seat. I was next to a woman I had never met, someone from Stephanie's work. She smiled politely, but did not talk to me. Across from me was another stranger. I was completely isolated, surrounded by people I did not know. Dinner was served. Expensive food, small portions, the kind of meal where you are not sure what you are eating, but you smile and pretend it is good. I picked at my food, my appetite gone. Around me, people laughed and talked. At the head of the table, Brandon and Stephanie were the center of attention, surrounded by friends and family. Stephanie's parents sat next to them, beaming, toasting their son-in-law. I sat at the end, invisible. After dinner, it was time for gifts. People started bringing presents to Brandon, piling them on a side table. Expensive gifts. Stephanie's father handed Brandon a set of keys. Car keys. "Happy birthday, son," Stephanie's father said loudly. "The BMW is parked outside. Enjoy." Everyone clapped and cheered. Brandon hugged him, genuinely thrilled. "Thank you so much. This is incredible." I looked down at my small wrapped box, the watch inside, and suddenly it felt insignificant. Cheap. But when it was my turn, I stood up and walked to Brandon. My hands were trembling as I handed him the box. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. I hope you like it." He opened it, pulled out the watch, glanced at it. "Thanks, Mom." That was it. No hug, no real smile. Just a flat, emotionless, "Thanks, Mom." I sat back down, my cheeks burning. I wanted to disappear. Then Brandon stood up. He picked up his glass of champagne, and everyone quieted down. He was going to make a speech. He started by thanking everyone for coming. He thanked Stephanie for being his rock, his partner, his everything. He thanked Stephanie's parents for their generosity and support, for treating him like a son. He thanked his friends for always being there. And then he paused. He looked around the room, his eyes landing on me for just a second. Someone from the crowd, a friend of his, called out, "Come on, Brandon. What is the one thing you wish for on your 30th birthday?" Brandon laughed. He looked at Stephanie, who was smiling, then back at the crowd. "Honestly, the best gift would be some real freedom." People chuckled, thinking it was a joke. But Brandon kept going. "I mean it. You know what I want, for certain people to stop, hovering, to let me live my life without constant guilt trips and expectations. My heart started to pound. He was talking about me. He had to be talking about me. Stephanie raised her glass, smiling like this was all planned. And then Brandon looked right at me, right into my eyes. And he said, "The best gift, you disappearing from my life, so I can finally breathe." The room went silent. A few people laughed nervously, unsure if this was part of the act. But I knew. I knew he meant every word. I sat there frozen. Everyone was looking at me now, some with pity, some with curiosity, some with awkward smiles, not knowing what to do. My son, my beautiful boy, the child I had given everything for, had just told me in front of 30 people that he wished I would disappear. I could not breathe, could not think. My vision blurred with tears. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out of the restaurant. No one followed me. I got to my car, my hands shaking so hard I could barely get the key in the ignition. I drove home, tears streaming down my face, Brandon's words echoing in my head. "You disappearing from my life, so I can finally breathe." When I got home, I sat in the dark living room for hours. I did not turn on the lights. I just sat there replaying the night over and over. And somewhere in those dark hours, something inside me shifted. The grief turned to something else, something harder, something colder. If that was what he wanted, then that was what he would get. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my living room staring at the walls, at the pictures of Brandon, at the life I had built around him. And I realized something. I had spent 30 years putting Brandon first. 30 years sacrificing my own happiness, my own future, my own life for him. And he wanted me gone. Fine. I would give him exactly what he asked for. The next morning I made a phone call to Patricia, an old friend from college who had become a lawyer. She had helped me with paperwork when Thomas died, and we had stayed in touch over the years. "Patricia, it is Edna. I need your help." "Of course. What is going on?" I told her everything. The birthday party, Brandon's words, the years of being pushed aside. And Patricia, bless her, did not tell me I was overreacting. She just listened. And then she said, "What do you want to do?" "I want to disappear, like he asked." "Are you sure?" "I have never been more sure of anything in my life." "Okay," Patricia said. "Let us talk about your options." We spent 2 hours on the phone. Patricia helped me go through my finances, my assets, my legal rights. And what we found was this. The house I lived in, the house I had bought with Thomas all those years ago, was in my name. Only my name. It was worth about $500,000 now, maybe more. And there was a bank account. A joint account I had opened when Brandon was a child to save money for his future. Over the years, I had deposited money into it little by little. And after Brandon started working, he used it too, depositing his paychecks, using it for expenses. But I was the primary account holder. My name was first. And there was about $120,000 in it. "You have every legal right to that account," Patricia said. "You opened it. You funded most of it. Brandon is just a co-signer. Can I close it? You can freeze it. You can transfer the funds. You can do whatever you want. And the house, you can sell it any time. It is yours." I took a deep breath. "Okay, let us do it." "Are you absolutely sure, Edna, this is a big step?" "He told me to disappear, so I am disappearing." The first thing I did was call the bank. I explained that I wanted to freeze the joint account, restrict all transactions except those authorized by me. The bank representative was professional, asked me a few verification questions, and within an hour, it was done. The account was locked. Next, I called a real estate agent, a woman named Linda, who had sold a house on my street the year before. I told her I wanted to list my house immediately. "How soon?" she asked. "Today." She came over that afternoon, walked through the house, took pictures, and by evening the listing was live. $525,000. Then I started packing. I went through the house room by room and sorted my belongings: clothes, books, photos of Thomas, a few pieces of furniture I cared about. Everything else could stay or be sold with the house. In Brandon's old bedroom, there were boxes of his things: trophies from high school, old report cards, pictures from college. I packed them all into plastic bins and stacked them in the garage. He could have them if he wanted, but I was not keeping them. It took me 3 days to pack my life into boxes, 3 days of sorting through memories, deciding what mattered and what did not. And by the end of it, I realized how little actually mattered. Most of it was just stuff, things I had held on to out of sentiment, out of habit. On the 4th day, I got a call from my old company. I had retired a few years earlier, but they had always told me I could come back part-time if I wanted. I called my old boss, Helen, and asked if the offer still stood. "Edna, of course, we would love to have you back. When can you start?" "2 weeks." "Perfect. Welcome back." Next, I started looking for apartments. Not here. Not in this city where every corner reminded me of Brandon. Somewhere new. Somewhere I could start over. I found a place in Portland, Oregon. A small 1-bedroom apartment near a park with big windows and lots of light. The rent was reasonable, and the landlord said I could move in any time. I put down a deposit. And then I waited. 1 week after the birthday party, my phone rang. It was Brandon. I did not answer. He called again. And again. I let it go to voicemail. Finally, he texted, "Mom, what is going on? My account is frozen." I waited 6 hours before responding. "You wanted me to disappear. I am doing exactly that." "What, Mom? This is ridiculous. We need to talk." "There is nothing to talk about. You made yourself clear." "I didn't mean it like that. It was just, I was frustrated." "You said it in front of 30 people, Brandon. You meant it." "Mom, please, unlock the account. I have bills to pay." "You are 30 years old with a good job. You will figure it out." He called me 12 times that day. I blocked his number. He tried calling from Stephanie's phone. I blocked that too. 2 days later, Patricia called me. "Edna, Brandon tried to reach out to me. He wants me to talk to you." "What did you tell him?" "I told him you don't want to hear from him, and he needs to respect that." "Good. Thank you, Patricia." "Are you okay?" "I am better than I have been in years." And I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. 3 weeks after I listed the house, I got an offer. A young couple just married, loved the neighborhood. They offered $520,000 cash, quick close. I accepted. The closing was fast. 2 weeks later, the house was sold. I signed the papers, took the check, and felt nothing. No sadness, no regret, just relief. I hired a moving company to take my things to Portland. They loaded everything into a truck, and I watched as my entire life was packed up and driven away. Before I left, I went to the garage one last time. The boxes of Brandon's things were still there. I wrote a note and taped it to the top box. "Your things. Take care of yourself." Then I locked the door and walked away. I drove to Portland on a Friday morning. It took 6 hours, and the whole drive I felt lighter and lighter, like I was shedding weight with every mile. When I arrived at my new apartment, the movers were already there unloading boxes. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. It was small, but it was mine. Completely mine. I spent the weekend unpacking, arranging furniture, making the space my own. I hung a few pictures. I set up my bookshelf. I bought fresh flowers for the kitchen table. And on Sunday evening, I sat on my little balcony looking out at the park, and I smiled. Brandon called the old house number. No one answered. He drove to the house and found a sold sign in the yard. He knocked on the door, but the new owners had already moved in. They told him they did not know where I had gone. He tried to reach me through Patricia again. She refused to give him my new number or address. He was alone, just like he wanted, and I was free. The first few months in Portland were strange. Good strange. I woke up every morning in my bright little apartment, made coffee, and sat by the window watching the world go by. No phone calls from Brandon. No guilt. No pressure. Just peace. I started my new job at the small accounting firm, and my coworkers were kind. They did not know my story, did not know about Brandon, or the years of heartbreak. To them, I was just Edna, a friendly woman starting fresh. And I liked it that way. One morning I saw a flyer at the coffee shop for a yoga class in the park. I had never done yoga in my life, but I thought, why not? So I went. The class met every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 7. It was a small group, mostly women my age. The instructor, a calm woman named Marie, guided us through stretches and poses, and for the first time in years, I felt connected to my own body, present in my own life. After class one day, 3 women approached me. "You are new here, right?" one of them said. She was tall, with short gray hair and kind eyes. "I am Gloria." "I am Janet," said another, a petite woman with glasses. "And I am Linda," said the third, who had a warm smile and laugh lines around her eyes. "I am Edna. I just moved here a few months ago." "Well, welcome. We usually grab coffee after class. Want to join us?" I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say no, to stay in my cocoon of solitude. But another part of me, a part I had forgotten existed, wanted connection, wanted friendship. "I would love to," I said. We went to a cafe nearby, sat outside and talked. They asked where I was, from what brought me to Portland. I kept my answers vague. I needed a change, a fresh start. They did not press. They just accepted me. And over coffee we laughed about the yoga poses we could not quite master, about our aching muscles, about life. It felt good, really good. Gloria, Janet, Linda, and I started meeting regularly. Coffee after yoga, occasional dinners, weekend walks in the park. They became my friends, real friends, not people who wanted something from me or judged me, just friends. One evening over dinner, Linda said, "Edna, can I ask you something? You don't have to answer if you don't want to." "Sure." "You seem like you are running from something, or maybe running toward something. Either way, I just want you to know we are here for you, whatever you need." I felt tears prick my eyes. "Thank you. That means a lot." And it did. Meanwhile, back in the city, I had left. Brandon was struggling. I did not know this at the time, but I found out later through Patricia, who heard things through the grapevine. Without access to the joint account, Brandon and Stephanie had to rely solely on their own incomes. And while Brandon made good money, Stephanie had expensive tastes, the kind of tastes that required more than one salary. They started arguing about money, about bills, about the fact that they could not afford the lifestyle they wanted. Stephanie started blaming Brandon. "If you had not been such a jerk to your mother, we would have that money now." "You were the one who always complained about her," Brandon shot back. "I never told you to say those things at your birthday party. That was all you." Their fights became more frequent, more bitter. Stephanie moved into the guest room. They barely spoke. Brandon tried everything to find me. He hired a private investigator, but I had covered my tracks well. New city, new phone number, new job. I had effectively vanished. He wrote letters to Patricia, begging her to forward them to me. She called me first. "Edna, Brandon has been sending letters. Do you want them?" "No." "Are you sure?" "I am sure." She respected my decision. 6 months into my new life, I met someone. His name was George. He was 57, a retired high school teacher with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. We met at a bookstore. I was browsing the fiction section, and he recommended a novel. "Have you read this one?" he asked, holding up a book. "It is wonderful." We started talking about books then, about life, and before I knew it, 2 hours had passed. He asked if I would like to get coffee sometime. I said yes. George was patient. He did not push. We went on slow, easy dates, walks in the park, dinners at quiet restaurants. He told me about his life, his late wife who had passed away 5 years earlier, his love of teaching and reading. And slowly, carefully, I told him about mine. Not everything, but enough. I had a son. I said one evening as we sat on a bench overlooking the river. I gave him everything, and he didn't want me anymore. George did not say anything for a moment. Then he took my hand. That must have been incredibly painful. It was, but I am okay now. I am building a new life. You are brave, Edna. I shook my head. I don't know about that. I couldn't stay in a place where I was not wanted. That is brave. Choosing yourself. That takes courage. Maybe he was right. A year after I left, Patricia called me. Edna, I need to tell you something. Brandon has been trying to reach you through me again. He wrote another letter. A long one. I sighed. I don't want to read it, Patricia. I know. But I think you should know what is in it. Just so you have all the information. Okay. Tell me. He says he is sorry. Really, truly sorry. He says he has been going to therapy trying to understand why he treated you the way he did. He admits he was cruel. He says his marriage is falling apart. Stephanie filed for divorce. He says he lost everything, and he realizes now that he lost the most important person first. You. I was quiet. He wants a chance to make things right. He is not asking for money or for you to come back. He just wants to talk to you, to apologize. I thought about it for a long time. And then I said, tell him I will think about it. Really? Tell him I will think about it. But I am not ready yet. And I may never be ready. He needs to understand that. I will tell him. Patricia sent my message. Brandon wrote back saying he understood, saying he would wait, saying he was sorry. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I did not throw it away, but I did not respond either. It has been over a year now since I left. Over a year since I disappeared from Brandon's life, just like he asked. And I am happy. Truly happy. I have my job, my friends, my little apartment. I have George who treats me with kindness and respect. I have a life that is mine, not built around someone else's needs and wants. I still think about Brandon sometimes. Of course I do. He is my son. That will never change. But I have come to understand something important. Loving someone does not mean letting them hurt you. Loving someone does not mean sacrificing yourself until there is nothing left. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is walk away. I gave Brandon everything I had. My time, my money, my energy, my life. And he took it all and threw it back in my face. He wanted me to disappear. So I did. And in doing so, I found myself again. The woman I was before I became just Brandon's mom. The woman who had dreams and hopes and a future. I do not know if I will ever talk to Brandon again. Part of me wants to. Part of me wants to hear him say he is sorry to know that he understands what he did. But another part of me knows that it might not matter. Some wounds are too deep. Some words cannot be taken back. He asked for the best gift, and I gave it to him. His freedom, and mine. I spent 30 years putting him first. Now I am putting myself first. And that does not make me selfish. It makes me human. I look back now and I see the truth. I loved my son so much that I lost myself. I poured everything into him, and I forgot to save anything for me. And when he no longer needed me, when he pushed me away, I had nothing left. But now I do. I have me. I have my life. I have my peace. Brandon learned a hard lesson. That the people who love you most are not always going to be there. That taking someone for granted has consequences. That words have power and cruelty leaves scars. I hope he has grown. I hope he has learned. But whether he has or not, it does not change my path. I am moving forward, not backward. I sit on my balcony now watching the sunset over Portland, a cup of tea in my hands. George is coming over later for dinner. Gloria, Janet, and Linda are stopping by tomorrow for brunch. My life is full. Not in the way it was before, but in a better way. A healthier way. And if Brandon ever truly wants to be part of my life again, he will have to prove it. He will have to show me, not just tell me that he values me, that he respects me, that he loves me. Until then, I am okay. More than okay. I gave him what he asked for. I disappeared. And in doing so, I gave myself something even more precious: my life back. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is exactly what they claim they want. And sometimes, walking away is the strongest thing you can do. I am Edna. I am 54 years old. And I am finally free. So let me ask you this. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying was destroying you? Have you ever chosen yourself when everyone expected you to sacrifice? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories. And if this story touched you, if it made you think about your own relationships and your own worth, please hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories about real people facing real struggles. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who might be struggling with their own decision to stay or go. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. I hope you find your own freedom, whatever that looks like for you. Take care of yourselves. You deserve it.